you'll know I didn't hear you.
Okay. Hey, Trace, you want to say hi?
Hey, I'm Trace. Nice to meet you.
Well, nice to meet you.
All right.
I think.
So how is Boeing structured? This is the first question. So how is Boeing structured, and how is your team structured?
Okay, so the Boeing company is a pretty large enterprise, and so it's really organized around the business stream that actually provide value to the customers. And so we have a commercial airplane division that we call BCA. We also have a military division, which is called BDF, which is control of big, lot of support for both local, foreign U.S. and foreign military. And then we also have this services division that's really recently stood up to support services that we supply to the whole industry, the whole aerospace industry. Those are the main arms within the Boeing company. And within it, we have some enterprise capabilities, and I happen to be in this division called Boeing Test and Evaluation, which is really an enterprise capability to do testing for the many products that we have offered Boeing, whether they be commercial airplanes or satellites or military airplanes or other projects that we call proprietary projects that are limited for specific customers. So how is my unit organized?
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting question because there's a couple of classic ways Boeing organizes. For many years, I ran a classic organization where I had a number of what I would call first-line supervisors organizing specific technology groups. And in my case, it was aero flight test or stability and control flight test or propulsion flight test.
Okay.
And it was a very linear organization. I'm currently working in what I would call more of an influence organization for how the Boeing company is going to progress with doing data systems in the future. So we have different ways of organizing, and both of them can be actually in place at the same time. So.
Okay.
That's what you're looking for?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
So you were saying that it's kind of linearly structured, right?
We definitely have what you would call a linear structure around certain products and services, but it's almost a matrix in the sense that we also have capabilities that they can pull and choose. And it depends, there's a lot of variation on that theme, but we definitely support skill development within a technology, but we also, people get assigned to programs, which is more the if you will, the linear relationship. So.
Okay, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So there's still like there's freedom to create, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what kind of decisions led you to pick this linear sort of structure, and what has prompted the recent change?
Yeah, so we've always had a multi-fuel matrix functions, and there's a certain, I'll just say, historical structure around the linear structure that you see, where you have a boss, and that boss has a boss, and that boss has a boss's boss, and it's very efficient for certain types of activities, especially for stability, working products, and so there's some big advantages of that. And so you have to retain that part of the structure to keep those advantages. But it doesn't necessarily let you do the teaming that's needed by today's requirements and technology. Again, whether it's a flight test or whether you're teaming to design a new capability within satellites or something like that, you need a very broad cross-functional team to be able to pull together. And so that's why this other matrix or this deployed structure works extremely well, and you end up being flexible to be moved in those projects. So they both have advantages. Some are great for longevity and skill and I'll just say merit, and the others are good for getting cross-functional teams together to get complex systems and products produced.
Okay, cool.
So, being in a position of management, do you have any freedom to pick your team? As in, like, grab new members and add them to your team?
So, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I will say that there are, especially in the United States, constraints to certain things and how you do that. It is not a pick your friends
Right.
on a baseball team type of approach. But basically, you have to look at the skills and attributes you need, and you make it available to a broad audience. Even though if you have an idea of capabilities within people who can fill that, you make it available to the broad audience in order to add diversity to the team. Because just because you think of somebody who might be able to do that, perform that function, but maybe the Boeing comes with a very broad set of people, and there's some phenomenal capabilities out there. So we go through a process where for most open positions, we do in fact advertise for them and let some competition occur in order to pick the right candidate.
Okay.
So,
But at the end of the day, it's up to myself or the management team, and really the other team, depending on exactly what it is, to make the selection of the candidate.
so is there anything other than skill sets? Do you like take personality differences into account when you're forming these teams?
So I probably wouldn't say personality, but there's certain attributes to a really good worker. One of them are communication skills. The other are teaming skills, especially if they're demonstrated teaming skills. Technical competency is a must. So it doesn't do you any good to hire a doctor if you need a pilot. They can be great people, but they have to be competent in the area that you're looking for. And so you look for the competencies, the agility, the flexibility for the type of job that you're trying to fill. And there can be ones that are very in-depth, highly technical, which you value that part of the skill set a little bit more than other jobs that are in fact all about teaming, which, as an example, our test directors, it's about teaming for a flight test. So those are very strong skills in that case.
Okay. So you did mention that communication is one of the things that you look at. Are there any like rules or procedures you guys use to facilitate communication within your team?
What type of things do we do to facilitate communications within our team? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like is there anything you do to promote communication between you guys?
And is there anything like, do you have any kind of rules that you have outlined as to like, you know, what to do or like how to conduct communication? Like, don't do this or, do this kind of a thing. Like, don't harass people, obviously, but, you get...
Yes, that's a good rule we have. Don't harass the people.
I like that rule.
But,
so that's right. But communication is a fantastic subject because one of the things that is prevalent is that there is an illusion of communication that you think you have communicated, but at the end of the day, unless the mental model of the receiver is not lined up with the message you're trying to say, you may not actually be communicating the intent. And so it's really important to have a multifaceted communication strategy, both between the team and within the team. So elements of that include some, if you will, structured communication. So that is like a weekly or bi-weekly team meeting, flow down and flow up with the employees. Communication can be and is one-on-one dialogues with the people to find out how they're doing, what they need, and give them any guidance that they're looking for. Of course, things like printed media and other even now we've got social media on our apps now for communicating activities at the company level. So yeah, communication is definitely a multifaceted thing. And then what I can't understate is getting up out of your desk and walking over and going and talking to somebody. That's a very underrated skill. So.
Absolutely. So, awesome. So, do you have any do your teams have any guidelines or rules for like actually what to say when, or what should be talked about when doing communication?
So, let me answer that in a couple of multifaceted ways. And so let me give you a highly structured communication methodology that we employ. You may not have heard of Whitboard or Scrum methodology.
Oh, we have.
Or work in process. Good, we have.
We definitely have.
As an example, that's a daily meeting typically that people stand up, and in the very basics, the idea is to get a very quick amount of time is what did you get done yesterday? What are you working on today? What's in your queue, and what help do you need? And it's facilitated by things like sticky notes on a whitboard or other methodologies that help identify and track those things. So that's a very, I won't use the word rule-based, but it is very structured for the kind of information you share, you communicate, and you put out. And that's got some very positive and great things. Other areas, when it's open dialogue, for that, then that there are many fewer rules for that, in that we just make sure that they're all professional and they share the intent of what is needed to share. And then the third one is, for the most part, anything goes on a one-on-one. If somebody comes and shares something that they want to, they don't want to necessarily air out originally within the whole group, and that's another methodology. So,
cool.
And then there's always the backup, so that if something is, let's just say something is at least perceived as a miss in the organization, we have a completely outside third-party group that you can call our ethics line and give them a call and let them know what's going on, and they will do an investigation on it. So we have that as a backup. Doesn't get used that much, but it's good to know that there is a backup.
Cool. Definitely. Okay. So you kind of touched on that. And on that. Let's see.
Kind of, it relates to communication, I'd guess. But is there any way that you maybe keep workers motivated to continuously collaborate together, making sure everybody's up to speed with each other and working productively, I guess?
Yeah, that's always the goal, to keep the team informed. And so one of the things I'm a firm believer in is strategic clarity. And so everybody on the team really needs to know what they're doing and what it's about. What is the strategy that this team is employing? What is the place we're trying to get to? And that's, having that strategic clarity goes a long way towards motivating people to head the right direction. The other one is role clarity. In other words, if you don't know what your role is on the team, and you end up having to make it up, or you interpret it based on just environmental stuff, then that can cause friction and uncertainty and waste and rework. And so that's another element. And the third one is I'll just call it holding yourself and holding others accountable. So if somebody says they're going to do something, then the expectation is they do in fact do it. And if they can't, they have a responsibility to communicate what's keeping them from accomplishing the task and going and getting help. It's not as I give up or et cetera, but there's a lot of situations we run into that we have to make sure people are comfortable and empowered to ask for help when they're having problems. And so holding yourself and holding others accountable is the other element of it. And when you do that, the whole team actually works better as a team because they hold each other accountable for that kind of performance. And then I'll throw the last one on is, you need to have an element of fun. You enjoy what you do. That's always the
Mm-hmm.
always a positive.
So kind of on that note, how do you sort of retain talent? I know that especially with like engineering and at least with software, you've got people who don't necessarily want to work on the same project for an extended period of time. So what kind of tools do you and does Boeing use to help try to make sure that employees do stay on board?
Yeah, so again, that's a multifaceted question depending on exactly what the job is you're doing. And as you know, in the Seattle area, software skills are highly competed for. But I would also argue so are the jobs. The jobs that are Google and Microsoft and Boeing are sought after because they're well compensated, and you're working on some pretty cool stuff. At Boeing, you can be working on a flight test airplane, you can be working on a satellite, you can be working on a business system, and these things have real impact to how we all live and work. And so, having the right kind of project is a big plus. Another thing is making folks have the tools they need in order to do the work they do, and that is amazing. And large companies have sometimes a difficult time doing that because the systems that get put in place that can make it difficult. So enabling that is a powerful thing. And then what I would say in a modern workforce is what I would call a flexible workforce. And so I'll just take software skills as an example. Software skills, you may or may not need to be in the office 40 hours a day between 7:30 and 4. I mean, that may not be the best way to attract and retain the best folks. And so having HR systems and workforce that are flexible are definitely a big plus and keeps folks motivated. So now, the Boeing company, I don't think you'll ever see a beer tap at the Boeing company as a way to keep people there. So if people are looking to have a beer at work, it's probably not the place to work. There may be other software companies that do that. That's not something Boeing chooses to do. But there are other things that we do that are similar to that for the workforce motivated.
Okay.
Awesome. So moving on to kind of a different topic, how do you and your team and Boeing, I guess, stay innovative and stay ahead of the curve?
Well, that's a good question because it's very, very easy to, I'll just say, get complacent. Mm-hmm. And so you need to set up a system that is both rewards being able to perform the daily jobs and a system that also rewards innovation. So whether they be patents that you go out and apply for or new processes. And at the end of the day, you need to have a recognition system that values that innovation part of the job. And so the compensation, the retention, all the business things around that need to support that. And the other part of it is, and sometimes this is the hard part, is actually being able to detect innovation. Because a lot of people do fantastic innovation, but they don't necessarily shine a light on it. So we need to detect it and raise it up so we can replicate that innovation in and outside of the group that's working it. So that's an important and very empowering thing. So, and it can be difficult because we get into, I'll just say, for lack of a better term, turning the cranks, whether you're bucking rivets or gluing things together, etc. That it's always important to take a step back every once in a while and say, what am I doing? What are other better ways to do it? So, and then there's always the third-party approach where we bring in a third party to help with let's look at what we're doing, what could we do better. And then there's the internal approach where you pull a group together and say, hey, we've been at this cycle time for this process for a number of weeks, months, years. What can we do to improve it? And that's the kind of stuff that went together to move the 37 line from what's known as a fixed position line to a moving line. And that's made a world of difference. But getting the folks who are doing the work engaged is very powerful.
So you mentioned noticing and rewarding innovation. Does Boeing employ any specific strategies along that to do that?
So I would say yes, and I would say it's multifaceted, and it is somewhat dependent on the workforce that you're in. So as a professional, most of the professionals get rewarded every year based on their innovation, their agility, and their contribution to the company in the form of merit raise or position and that type of thing. The hourly force can be very similar, but there are other things that constrain some elements of it, whether it be compensation or et cetera, because there are labor relations things that you have to pay attention to. So they may be different, but in a case like if you're dealing with union, then you really need to partner with the unions to figure out the best way to do it. And partnering with them is a very valuable way to do it. It's just a different way of promoting innovation.
Okay. So what? So I guess one last question would be: so when you're pulling these groups together, to tackle a specific problem, to try to stay innovative, or to come up with the new creative ideas, are there any tools or techniques that you use, or that help you generate those those teams use to generate creative content?
I'm going to answer it in that there are the number of tools is significant that you can use to help promote, track innovation, and the tools are useful. For me, how you get innovation is being very strategically clear. And this gets back to strategic clarity. What it is we're trying to do. What is it, the mission? What is the problem we're trying to solve?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at that from it takes time to truly make sure everybody on the team has that strategic clarity, then that's extremely powerful to get to the right solution. And again, there's multiple tools, whether it's after action reviews or whether it's what I would say process mapping or all sorts of different life cycle modeling, and there's a lot of different tools out there that you need to be aware of so you can pick the right one to use on the particular system you're using. And so the tool fleet is significant. And so it's a matter of picking the right one, but none of them will work without the proper strategic clarity for what it is you're trying to do.
Awesome.
Okay. I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.